Have you ever noticed something strange? You can spend 5 minutes trying to calm yourself by taking slow, deep breaths, and sometimes your mind still feels like it's racing. But then you splash cold water on your face for just a few seconds, and suddenly everything feels different, not perfect, not magical, just quieter. Why would something so simple have such a powerful effect? Many men over 50 have experienced this without giving it much thought. Maybe you've had one of those mornings where you wake up feeling tired before the day even begins. Your thoughts are already running through bills, family, work, appointments, or things that need fixing around the house. You tell yourself to relax. You breathe deeply, but your body doesn't seem to get the message. Then you wash your face with cool water. For a brief moment, it's almost as if someone pressed a reset button. That tiny moment raises an interesting question. If breathing exercises are supposed to calm us down, why does cold water sometimes work faster? The answer isn't that one is good and the other is bad. They're simply speaking to your body in two different ways, and once you understand that difference, you'll know exactly when each one can help you. Think about your home. Imagine the smoke alarm starts beeping because the battery is low. You can stand underneath it and tell it everything is fine. You can even stay calm yourself. But the alarm keeps beeping because it isn't listening to your words. It reacts to a signal. Your body works in a similar way. Sometimes your thoughts are saying, relax, but your body is still receiving signals that say, stay alert. That's why breathing doesn't always seem to work immediately. Your mind may understand what you're trying to do, but your body may still believe it's preparing for something stressful. Now imagine walking into your bathroom and turning on the cold tap. The instant cold water touches your face, something interesting happens. Your body notices. It doesn't wait for you to think about it. It reacts automatically. This is important because many of the changes we want, feeling calmer, slowing down, thinking more clearly, don't begin with thinking. They begin with signals. As we get older, this becomes even more noticeable. When you're in your 20s, your body often bounces back quickly. A stressful conversation may bother you for an hour, then it's gone. After 50, stress has a way of hanging around longer. You might replay conversations in your head. You may wake up at 3 in the morning thinking about something that happened yesterday. Your shoulders stay tight. Your jaw stays clenched without you realizing it. It's almost like your body forgets how to switch from on to off. Cold water doesn't solve every problem. It won't pay your bills or erase your worries, but it gives your body a very clear message. Something just changed. And sometimes that's exactly what your system needs. Think about driving on a long highway. After hours behind the wheel, you almost stop noticing the road. Then you hit a patch of rough pavement. Suddenly you're fully awake. Your attention returns. Cold water creates a similar interruption. It breaks the pattern your body has been following. Instead of quietly continuing the cycle of tension, your system pauses for a moment and adjusts. That's one reason many people describe feeling more awake and more relaxed at the same time. At first, those two ideas sound like opposites. How can you be more alert and calmer? Picture a flashlight. If the batteries are weak, the light flickers. If the batteries are fresh, the beam becomes steady. The flashlight isn't working harder, it's working better. That's often what people notice after cooling their face with water. Their thoughts don't disappear, they simply become steadier. Here's another way to think about it. Imagine someone taps you lightly on the shoulder. You barely notice. Now imagine someone gently but unexpectedly pours a cup of cool water over your hands. Your attention immediately shifts. The message is stronger. Your body responds before your mind has time to argue. Breathing exercises can be wonderfully helpful, but they ask you to guide your body gradually. Cold water gets your body's attention first. Then your thoughts often follow. That doesn't mean you should skip breathing altogether. In fact, combining the two can make each one feel more effective. Here's a simple habit worth trying. The next time you wake up feeling foggy or tense, don't immediately reach for your phone. Instead, walk into the bathroom. Wash your face with comfortably cold water for about 15 to 30 seconds. It shouldn't be painfully cold. Think refreshing, not shocking. As you dry your face, take a few slow breaths. Notice whether your breathing feels easier after the cool water than it did before. You may discover that your body becomes more willing to relax once it has received that clear physical signal. Another good time to use this habit is before an important conversation. Maybe you're about to discuss finances. Maybe you're heading into a family gathering where emotions sometimes run high. Or perhaps you're simply feeling irritated without knowing exactly why. Rather than carrying that tension into the moment, spend half a minute with cool water on your face. It won't erase your emotions, but it may help lower the volume just enough for you to think instead of react. That small difference can completely change how a conversation unfolds. There's another reason this matters after 50. Many men spend years believing they need more willpower. If I could just calm down, if I could just stop worrying, if I could just think differently. But what if the problem isn't a lack of discipline? What if your body simply needs a different kind of signal before your mind can do its best work? That's a very different way of looking at things. Instead of fighting your body, you're learning how to work with it. And often, the simplest tools turn out to be the ones we've overlooked every single day. Once you start looking at your body this way, a lot of everyday experiences begin to make more sense. Have you ever walked outside on a cool morning and immediately felt more awake than you did inside the house? Or stepped into a cool shower after mowing the lawn and noticed your mind felt clearer, not just your skin? Those moments aren't accidents. Your body is constantly paying attention to what's happening around it. Long before you consciously think about something, it's already making small adjustments. That's why tiny habits can have surprisingly big effects. The mistake many people make is believing that every solution has to be complicated. They imagine expensive equipment, long routines, or perfect discipline. But think about sharpening a kitchen knife. You don't sharpen it by chopping harder. You stop for a minute, give the blade a few careful passes, and suddenly the same effort produces a better result. Your body often works like that. Sometimes it doesn't need more effort. It needs a better reset. This becomes especially important as everyday stress quietly builds over the years. Stress isn't always dramatic. It isn't always a major life event. Sometimes it's the little things piling up, sleeping a little less, moving a little less, worrying a little more, eating in a hurry, spending hours sitting down, looking at a phone before bed. None of those things seem huge by themselves, but imagine putting one small book on a shelf every day. For weeks, you hardly notice. Months later, the shelf is overflowing. Your body carries stress in much the same way. That's why people often say, I don't know why I'm so tense. The answer isn't usually one big reason. It's hundreds of tiny reasons adding up. Cold water doesn't remove those books from the shelf, but it reminds your body that it doesn't have to keep stacking them without a break. There's something else that's easy to overlook. Many men over 50 spend a lot of time taking care of everyone else. They help their children. They check on aging parents. They support a spouse. They solve problems at work. They fix things around the house. They're always responding, always handling the next task. Eventually, life can begin to feel like driving through city traffic. Stop, go, brake, turn. Watch for the next problem. After enough hours, even if nothing terrible happens, you're tired. Not because one event was overwhelming, because your attention never got a chance to rest. That's why little pauses matter. Not hour-long breaks, just moments. 30 seconds here. 1 minute there. Think about waiting for your coffee to brew. Most people pull out their phone. What if instead you walked to the sink, splashed cool water on your face, stood quietly for a few slow breaths, and simply looked out the window? It sounds almost too simple, but simple isn't the same as ineffective. Sometimes we've trained ourselves to ignore the small things because they don't feel dramatic. Yet our daily lives are built almost entirely from small things. Here's another interesting thought. Have you ever noticed that when you're frustrated, your face changes before you even realize you're upset? Your forehead tightens, your eyes narrow, your jaw stiffens, your shoulders creep upward. It's almost like your body is acting out the emotion before your mind has fully described it. Now turn that idea around. If emotions can change your body, can changing your body gently influence your emotions? Many people never ask that question, yet they experience it all the time. A walk changes your mood. Stretching changes how you feel. Standing outside changes your thinking. Smiling at someone often changes the conversation. These aren't magic tricks. They're reminders that your body and mind are constantly talking to each other. The conversation goes both ways. That's why combining several small habits often works better than depending on one big solution. Imagine beginning your morning this way. Wake up, drink a glass of water, wash your face with cool water for about 20 seconds, open a window if the weather allows. Take 5 slow, comfortable breaths. Walk around the house for 2 or 3 minutes before sitting down. None of those actions is difficult. Together, they create momentum. Your body starts receiving message after message that says, the day has started, let's wake up smoothly. Compare that with another common morning. Wake up, grab the phone, read upsetting news, answer messages, sit immediately, skip breakfast, rush out the door. Which morning do you think leaves your body feeling steadier? The interesting part is that neither morning required extraordinary effort, only different choices. Timing matters too. Cold water can be especially helpful after sitting for a long time. Many men spend hours in a chair watching television, working, or driving. After a while, everything begins to feel sluggish. Your thoughts slow down. Your posture collapses. You almost feel glued to the seat. Instead of reaching for another cup of coffee, try something different. Stand up, walk to the sink, splash cool water on your face, roll your shoulders. Take a slow walk through the room. See how you feel 5 minutes later. You may be surprised by how much more refreshed you become without needing anything complicated. The same idea can help during emotional moments. Suppose you've just had a frustrating phone call. Your first instinct might be to replay every word in your head. Round and round it goes. But what if you interrupted that loop? Walk away from the phone. Wash your face with cool water. Take a few unhurried breaths. Wait 1 minute before deciding what to do next. That minute can make all the difference. Not because the problem disappeared, because you gave yourself enough space to respond instead of simply reacting. As we get older, that's one of the greatest skills we can develop. Not moving faster, not pushing harder, simply creating enough room between what happens to us and what we choose to do about it. And sometimes that room begins with nothing more complicated than a little cool water and a quiet moment at the sink. There's another reason this simple habit can feel so powerful, and it has nothing to do with trying to become a different person. Most of us spend years believing that feeling better always comes after solving every problem. I'll relax when the bills are paid. I'll sleep better when life slows down. I'll feel happier when everything is finally under control. But life has an interesting habit. Just as one problem disappears, another one quietly takes its place. The house needs repairs. The car starts making a strange noise. A family member needs help. Plans change. If peace only arrives after every problem is gone, then peace keeps getting pushed further into the future. Instead, think about a ship crossing the ocean. The captain doesn't wait for perfectly calm water before adjusting the wheel. Tiny corrections happen all the time. That's how the ship stays on course. Your daily habits work the same way. Small adjustments made consistently often matter more than one huge effort every few months. Cold water is one of those adjustments. It doesn't replace good sleep. It doesn't replace walking, eating well, or staying connected with people you care about. It simply helps create a better starting point. And starting points matter. Imagine trying to write with a pen that barely works. You keep pressing harder. The letters become messy. Writing feels frustrating. Then someone hands you a pen that writes smoothly. The words come more easily, even though you're the same person. Sometimes your body is like that pen. When you're carrying tension all day, everything requires a little more effort, patience, focus, kindness, even making simple decisions. Reduce a little of that tension and the exact same day begins to feel more manageable. Here's something worth paying attention to over the next week. Notice the moments when you automatically touch your face. Most people do it without realizing. They rub their eyes, they massage their forehead, they pinch the bridge of their nose, they rest their hands on their cheeks. Why? Because the body is often searching for comfort long before the mind asks for it. Instead of rubbing your face absent-mindedly, try replacing that habit once or twice a day. Walk to the sink. Use cool water. Dry your face slowly. Stand quietly for just a few seconds. It becomes a small ritual rather than an automatic reaction. Rituals have a quiet kind of power. They tell your brain, this moment is different. Think about making tea. You boil the water, you wait, you pour, you let it steep. The drink isn't ready instantly. The process itself encourages you to slow down. Washing your face can become something similar, not just cleaning your skin, creating a pause. And pauses become more valuable as we grow older. When we're younger, we often rush because we believe faster is always better. More work, more activity, more appointments, more achievements. Eventually, many people discover something surprising. The goal isn't filling every minute. It's making each minute feel better. That's a very different way of living. Another habit that pairs beautifully with cool water is stepping outside for a few minutes. Not to exercise, not to accomplish anything, just to be outside. Feel the air, notice the light, listen to whatever sounds are around you. You don't have to analyze anything, just notice. Think about how often your attention stays trapped indoors. Television, computer screens, phones, artificial lighting. Hours pass without seeing the sky. Then you step outside for 3 minutes, and somehow the world feels a little larger again. It's almost like opening a window in a room that's been closed all day. Fresh air doesn't solve every problem, but it changes the feeling of the room. The same thing can happen inside you. Now imagine combining these ideas into one simple routine. You wake up, wash your face with cool water, drink some water, step outside for 5 minutes, walk at an easy pace, take slow breaths without forcing them. That's less time than many people spend scrolling through headlines before breakfast, yet the effect on the rest of the morning can be surprisingly noticeable. Here's another question. When was the last time you allowed yourself to do something slowly without feeling guilty? Many people have forgotten what that feels like. Everything becomes a race. Eat quickly, drive quickly, finish quickly. Even relaxing becomes another task to complete. I only have 10 minutes to relax. Doesn't that sound a little strange? Real recovery rarely happens when you're rushing. Think about charging your phone. If you unplug it every 30 seconds to check the battery, it takes much longer to recharge. Your own energy works in a similar way. Constant interruptions make it difficult to recover. That's why creating a few uninterrupted moments throughout the day can be more valuable than waiting for a perfect vacation that only comes once a year. Cold water helps because it naturally creates one of those moments. You stop what you're doing. You focus on one simple sensation. For 20 or 30 seconds, your attention isn't scattered across 10 different worries. It's right there, in the present moment. That may sound ordinary, but ordinary moments repeated every day slowly shape extraordinary results. Not overnight, not dramatically, gradually, the same way a garden grows. You don't see much after one day. After weeks of watering, sunlight, and care, everything begins to change. Healthy routines grow exactly like that. One habit supports another. Better mornings often lead to better afternoons. Better afternoons make evenings calmer. Calmer evenings can lead to better sleep. And better sleep makes tomorrow's choices a little easier. Notice the pattern? Everything is connected. That's why it's often more effective to improve one small habit than to chase 10 complicated solutions all at once. One simple action makes the next simple action easier. And before long, you've built a routine that doesn't feel like hard work. It simply feels like the natural way to begin taking better care of yourself. The most interesting part of all this is that your body is always giving you feedback. The question is whether you've learned to notice it. Think back over the last few years. Have there been days when you felt unusually calm for no obvious reason? Maybe you slept well. Maybe you spent time outdoors. Maybe you laughed with an old friend. Maybe you took an unhurried walk after dinner. Those days often seem ordinary while they're happening. But later, you realize they were the days when everything felt just a little easier. Now think about the opposite. The days that begin with rushing. Too little sleep, too much sitting, too much worrying, skipping meals, looking at screens for hours without a real break. Again, none of those things seems overwhelming on its own. But together, they slowly shape how you feel. It's a little like carrying a backpack. If someone places one small stone inside, you hardly notice. Another stone, still manageable. Another. By the end of the day, the backpack feels surprisingly heavy. Stress often builds the same way. The good news is that relief can build the same way too. One small habit won't transform your life overnight, but one small habit followed by another and another can gradually make that backpack lighter. That's why it's worth thinking differently about cold water. Don't see it as a trick. See it as a reminder to pause, a reminder to reset. A reminder that your body deserves just as much attention as your schedule. One helpful idea is to create small reset moments throughout your day, not because something has gone wrong, because life naturally creates tension as the hours pass. Maybe your first reset comes after breakfast, a splash of cool water, a few easy breaths. Maybe the second happens after lunch. Stand up, stretch, wash your face, look outside for a minute. The third might come before dinner, especially if the day has been stressful. Instead of carrying the weight of work into your evening, take 30 seconds at the sink. You may find that you're more patient with the people around you. You listen better. You react less quickly. Sometimes the smallest pause changes the entire mood of the evening. Here's something else that often surprises people. Good habits become easier when they're connected to something you already do. You don't need to remember a complicated schedule. You simply attach the habit to an existing routine. Every time you brush your teeth in the morning, rinse your face with comfortably cool water afterward. Every time you come home from being outside, wash your face before sitting down. Every time you feel yourself getting frustrated, let the sink become your first stop instead of your last resort. The habit starts fitting naturally into your day instead of feeling like another task on your list. That's often the difference between habits that last and habits that disappear after a week. They're simple enough to repeat without thinking. Another important point is this: don't turn this into a challenge. There's no prize for using the coldest water possible. More isn't always better. If the water is so cold that you tense up and dread doing it, you've missed the point. The goal isn't to shock yourself. The goal is to feel refreshed. Comfortably cool is enough for most people. Your body responds best to habits it doesn't resist. Consistency beats intensity almost every time. The same idea applies to breathing. You don't have to force huge breaths. You don't have to count perfectly. Just breathe a little slower than usual. Let the breath feel natural. If you combine that with cool water, gentle movement, and short breaks during the day, you've created a routine that's easy to keep. And the routines we keep are the ones that quietly change our lives. It's also worth paying attention to the evenings. Many men over 50 notice that they carry the whole day into bed. The body is lying down. The mind is still standing up, solving tomorrow's problems. If that sounds familiar, try a different ending to the day. About an hour before bed, step away from the television or phone for a few minutes. Wash your face with cool water. Keep the lights a little softer if you can. Take a slow walk through the house or onto the porch. Give yourself permission to let the day end gradually instead of all at once. You may find that your body gets the message that it's finally time to slow down. No complicated routine, no expensive equipment, just simple signals repeated consistently. That's really the bigger lesson here. Your body isn't asking for perfection. It's asking for clear, steady care. Every healthy choice sends a message. Every walk, every good night's sleep, every glass of water, every nourishing meal, every moment spent outside, every pause before reacting, and yes, every splash of cool water on your face. None of these habits seems impressive by itself, but together they shape the way you move through your day. They help you wake up with a little more energy, handle stress with a little more patience, think with a little more clarity, sleep with a little more ease. Those little improvements don't stay little for long. Weeks become months, months become years, and one day you may look back and realize something important. The biggest change didn't come from one dramatic decision. It came from dozens of simple choices that were easy enough to repeat. So tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone, before you tell yourself you're too busy, before the day starts pulling you in every direction, walk to the sink, turn on the tap, let the water run until it feels comfortably cool. Splash your face. Take one slow breath, then another. Pay attention to how you feel, not because cold water is a miracle, but because sometimes the simplest actions remind your body of something it has known all along: how to pause, how to reset, and how to begin again. If you enjoyed this video, take a moment to like it, subscribe, and share it with someone who could use a simple way to bring a little more calm and clarity into their day. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever noticed how a splash of cold water changes the way you feel? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to read today.